That thin blue line is the biggest bunch of bullshit myth I've ever met in my life, because police, all the time on this show, we say police are crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
One crab tries to climb out, another one tries to pull you back down because of whatever their ego is. This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. Thank you for listening to the first part of The Suffering of Cop Doc with Dr. Eugene Stefanelli. Please stick around and hear the outrageous conclusion as we dive deep into our personal relationships with the man himself, Dr. Eugene Stefanelli. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. Follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. And on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome back Dr. Eugene Stefanelli to go to part 2 of the Suffering of Cop Doc. Doc, there's too much information with you being as important to the show as you are for us to do in one episode, because in the second part of this, I want to get into the meat and potatoes of why these two knuckleheads are sitting across from a highly esteemed doctor.
And Kev, I have to tell you, he hasn't aged much in a week. He looks just as good as he did last week.
Well, listen, touring with Fleetwood Mac for the last 40 years. And I know before Fleetwood Mac, you were a stand-in for Frank Zappa.
Yeah. You know what? That was actually, people used to say, you look like him.
I've seen the pictures. Before we go any further, let's give a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, but we do trust them. So go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car. Same as last week, Doc. We got another social media question, and this is, it wouldn't give their name. It's user 4527. Why are cops so hard-headed? Obviously, I pulled this one just for you. You got the most experience working with cops. What do you think?
First of all, a cop's personality profile is probably wouldn't be healthy for somebody who's not a cop. They don't trust. They don't trust. They're control freaks. A little above the law and aggressive. So without that, you can't function in your job, really. So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I was going to say, those traits wouldn't work in any other profession.
No.
They don't work in law enforcement that much anymore, but...
And it's, it's that little bit above the law that kind of gives them that little bit more power.
I have seen certain cops with a God complex. Mm-hmm. I am the law, Judge Dredd type of thing.
Right.
And those are the ones who, in my opinion, should have never become cops, because most of the time in high school, those were the ones that got shoved in lockers. Mike, what do you think?
Like you said, I mean, I think it's a command presence thing. Mm-hmm. You have to show that you're
the power.
You're the power. You're the authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are the authority. So that's part of it.
But sometimes cops let that power get to their head. And that's when most cops get in trouble. Like you said, they think they're above the law. Mm-hmm. But I think it really comes down to a command presence thing. And plus, we're so jaded by so many things that we see.
Well, I think today it's even more difficult in terms of the cops' mindset because of all the negativity that's out there. There's never anything positive.
No.
They don't tell you about all the good things, the neighbors they deliver, the lives they save. They never, they don't throw a lot of that out. And news media has been a big enemy of ours.
I say it all the time. I've done a lot of things in my career, running into burning buildings, CPR saves, all that stuff. Not one thing made the paper.
Mm-hmm.
That proctology exam you gave on that one guy, that made the paper.
With the broomstick.
With the home. Oh, my God. No, it was a plunger, Doc.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a plunger. For my answer, I'm going to dissect what you just said.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't trust anybody. That's because we get lied to as police officers every single day. Something as innocuous as saying, I saw you driving down the street, you weren't wearing your seatbelt. Yes, I was. Or I just pulled out of the place. Meanwhile, the place that they pulled out of was 10 miles away. So we get lied to every day. We're control freaks because when we show up at a scene, we have to control everything, because if we lose control of everything, it's a dangerous situation. aggressive. Well, we see so much stuff over time that we try to anticipate the danger before the danger happens. So we have to control a situation, and sometimes we have to see them and we have to raise them one. So that usually ups the aggression.
Well, your job is to control what society can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as being hard-nosed about things, that just goes along with what you have to do. I mean, you can't show weakness.
You're right.
We also have to control people who can't control their own lives, right? Yeah. You don't call a cop just to come over and have coffee. No. You call a cop because something's wrong in your life that you can't handle. Now we have to come in and handle it.
Right. And now we're here and we have to automatically know what to do. And there's a lot of times that cops just don't know what to do.
I say to people all the time, I didn't invite myself over here. You called me.
So that's my answer. And
but you did say something important. We don't trust people, but we do trust Toyota of Hackensack.
This is 100% true. We trust Toyota of Hackensack. We trust Popple. We trust BetterHelp.
But that's part of your job because you have to have a little bit of trust. And how about you have to be you suspect sometimes that there are things, and that's part of that trust issue, I believe.
Well, we don't even trust each other. Yeah. We don't, because that thin blue line is the biggest bunch of bullshit myth I've ever met in my life. Because police, all the time on this show, we say police are crabs in a barrel. Yeah. One crab tries to climb out, another one tries to pull you back down because of whatever their ego is. There is very few. There's some, but there are very few police officers who are totally giving. They want to elevate those around them and that's the right way to do it, because if you elevate those around you, then you look better by default. Mm-hmm.
You'd know who this is because you remember the guests off the top of your head. We had one guest in whose father was a cop. The kid wanted to become a cop, and the father said, "You're going to see some of the worst human beings that you ever going to see in your life. Then you're going to leave the locker room and go out on the street."
I think that's a generalization.
That was Matt Stanislao. Yeah. His father was a cop, and Matt was gay, and his father did not approve of him being gay.
Right.
Didn't approve of him being a cop either.
Didn't approve of him being a cop, but that kind of, there's a lot of truth to that. And the department I worked in. So there was no trust in that department at all. No. Doc is very well versed in my department. Listen, user 4527, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we're going to try to get them on the air. So, Doc, the reason we brought you back this week was there's a whole thing that we touch on from time to time within this show. But in essence, Mike and I going to you, we say this often, that you are the reason that him and I are sitting here today. Because you know this specifically with me, and I haven't been in session with Mike, although we should go to couples counseling.
I was going to mention that, but
Doc used to work with couples.
Yeah, we might need a couples counseling session. But I know for me specifically, and I can only speak for me, had I not seen you when I saw you, and I found you. I knew you. I think I pulled you over a couple times.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But initially, my meeting with you was when that clerk got killed at
Quick Check.
At the Quick Check. That was the first of
July 16th, 2004.
Wow.
Yep. His name was Eduardo. So what the story behind that is some people wanted to rob Quick Check. They were watching it. They knew they closed up at 11. As soon as they locked the door, they shot through the door. Went in, the guy handed him the cash, and Eduardo was a sweet guy. We used to see him when we went in there and get coffee. As soon as he turned around, because they raised the gun, he was running away, they shot him in the back. When I got there, he was still alive. I found the bullet. It was like the magic bullet from the Kennedy assassination laying right next to him. And this is how well I remember that night, almost 20 years ago. I had just quit smoking, and I used to smoke Newports. I'm behind the counter working on him. And his face is white as this table. And I look up, and at my eye level is a carton of Newports. It was a trying time for me.
I'll bet.
And then they carted him off. We found out he passed on the way to the hospital. But I remember him just saying, don't let me die. Yeah, so that was
hard.
That was a hard one.
That's a rough
because
one.
Prior to that, in my town, the only homicide prior to that was a mob hit that was written about in the book Drop a Dime.
And
Is that where it came from, Roseland?
Yeah, Roseland. So they staged at the Quick Check or the ShopRite in West Caldwell. Came down Passaic Avenue, and the house was on the corner of Pitcairn and Morgantown. It's still there. The house is built specifically. He was a capo. The house was specifically built for him with higher windows, thicker walls. And him and his bodyguard were walking down the driveway, and were killed right at the base of the driveway. And I saw I actually pulled the file on that when I saw all the pictures. I saw the pictures with autopsy and everything because I was interested. And then this thing happens. And the problem with that is administration didn't understand why we didn't know what to do at a crime scene like that. Because the one prior to that was 30 years prior. Right. So, but that's so when I came to you after my shooting in 2013, I think I called Cop to Cop. And I didn't know where else to turn. I saw 1-800 Cop to Cop in a magazine, and I happened to get Cherie Castellano on the phone. And she says, okay, well, I'm going to set you up with Dr. Eugene Stefanelli. And I said, oh, I know who Dr. Stefanelli is. And I go in to see you and half thinking that, all right, I'm going to do my therapy thing. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And we sit down for the first session. I don't even think I was listening. I hadn't slept in 2 days. I wasn't drinking at the time, but the way you spoke to me gave me a little bit of hope. And I was hopeless when I first walked in there. I didn't know, my life is unraveling right in front of me. Prior to going in to see you, they do a critical incident debriefing 5 days later in the police department. And after that debriefing, they tell us the shotguns are going back in the car. So Who did the debriefing? Was it Cop to Cop? It was Cop to Cop. It was Cherie Castellano. After the debriefing, they tell us that our shotguns were pulled out of the cars, and they said they're going to go back in the cars now. I'm like, okay, that's good. Oh yeah, but they're only going to be in supervisors' cars. Something in me snapped just like that. Without thinking about it, I started yelling at a lieutenant. I'm a patrolman, yelling at a lieutenant. You motherfuckers better tell my wife that if I die because I don't have a shotgun and you do, and you're sitting in headquarters drinking fucking coffee, you guys better fucking tell my wife that I don't get the same protection as you. To the point, it got so bad that the guys around me picked me up and walked me down the stairs. Our squad room was on the second floor. Walked me down the stairs and walked me out the back. Yeah. Yeah. Then I knew something was really bad. Yeah. It was bad. So
see, the way I got to Dr. Steph was a little bit different. Both of us went to a couple doctors who were no good.
Dr. C?
We won't mention any names.
Oh, that's my buddy.
Yeah.
No, he's your buddy.
Yeah. So he's
still around.
You're the reason why my comp got dropped for a short time because you sent me to rehab.
So I go to my chief and I say, I'm talking to this doctor. He said, I'm not getting anywhere. I said, we don't see eye to eye. So he says, let me send you to a friend of mine up in Oakland.
Oh.
So I figure I'm going up to just go
said that?
My chief.
Oh, I thought you were saying me.
No. At the time, Oakland wasn't very good.
We still aren't.
Yeah.
So I go up there. I think I'm going to go up and have a therapy session. I sit down. They give me
MMPI.
Yeah. 500 question psych eval.
You took that before you became a cop.
A Wonderlic test. Now, they gave me a 400 question fitness for duty. I am going out of my mind. This was 2 weeks after my shooting.
I told the old man when he was still there, I told him, you can Wonderlic my balls if you think I'm taking that.
So
that's not the thing to give somebody after.
There was not 2 weeks after.
There was one doctor took pity on me because I had the same experience as him. They sent me for an eval. One doctor took pity on me, and I think he's doing some decent work.
So finally,
where was he?
I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Finally, I say to the doctor, that's it. I'm not taking any more tests. He goes, no, you're done. He goes, go sit out in the lobby. He said, if you want, go out and get yourself a cup of coffee. He said, I'll be back in about a half hour. I jumped up. I said, listen, if I leave this fucking office now, you'll never see me again. I came up here to talk to someone and you gave me all these tests. And I said, I'll throw you out that fucking window. Oh, calm down. When we went in. He went over all my my fitness for duty and all that, and we talked about it. And I said to him, Doc, let me ask you a question. Did I pass the fitness for duty? He goes, oh, no. He goes, I'm going to refer you to someone else. Your name was on the list, and that's how I got down here. So I also had a cousin that went through an incident, and he kept saying to me, did you go see Dr. Steph yet? Did you go see Dr. Steph yet? So I was referred to you through Oakland.
Oh.
Which is odd because for a long time, PBA was not very friendly with Oakland.
I can't speak about that.
I know there's current litigation. I can, because I have no stake in that game. There's current litigation on it, or there was anyway. I don't know whether it's still going on. So you're dealing with us, and I know the breaking point for me, and we tried everything. I would come see you every single week, and I would actually look forward to, believe it or not, I started to look forward to it as seeing it as a hindrance. Then we get to the gun incident. And this is how crazy this motherfucker is sitting across from me. You're fucking crazy.
I call it brilliant.
That was fucking nuts. All right, so I've said it a couple times on the show. We're getting on in therapy, and I guess you had to evaluate whether I was going back, whether I could go back. Mm-hmm. So Doc,
and how extreme the disability was.
So Doc likes his weapons. Okay, we all know. Anybody who knows Doc Steph likes his weapons, and I've actually made you a couple weapons, which may not be the smartest thing in the world. You're a patient with post-traumatic stress, giving you weapons. You bring out a 1945 Colt 45, Army issue, Bakelite handles, black, blued steel, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, mind you, I've been around guns since I've been a little kid. I never had any fear of guns. It wasn't like when I became a cop, the first time I had a gun in my hand. I've had plenty of guns in my hand. And I'm looking at this gun, and I'm trying to be a man, and I'm trying not to show you how afraid I am of this thing. You put it in my hand. Hopefully you checked whether it was loaded or not. I'm hoping. You put it in my hand, and I remember the weight of the gun. That gun, because I looked it up, that gun is 2 pounds, like 1.3 ounces, something like that. And you put it in my hand, that thing weighed about 50 pounds. And I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to keep a straight face. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a really nice, it's a nice gun. It's a nice gun here. Here, I didn't want it. I didn't rack it. I didn't check if it was safe. What was it about you doing that? Like, explain that process.
I wanted to see how you were going to react to it, to see if you had been involved in a shooting which almost took your life. So I wanted to see the impact that it had and how powerful the PTSD was.
Obviously, I failed.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't pass or fail. It's that I realized that you still had some issues we had to deal with.
And then the rest
which we did.
Yeah. The rest of the week was kind of hell for me. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have a breakthrough moment with Doc in private session?
I think every session was a breakthrough. It wasn't like an aha moment. It was just every time I went to Doc, you realize more and you realize more and you start feeling better and start feeling a little more, I don't want to say right, because I don't think right is the proper word. But it was very comfortable talking to him.
There was times I used to get pissed off, because you were telling me truths and I didn't want to hear the truth.
No, yeah. But that's the only way to heal.
And then the weirdest thing happened. So you invite me to, look, I'm running a group therapy session for cops. Why would you do that to yourself?